Welcome participants, welcome to the session on ISOCOST, isocons and least cost combination. I am Dr. Gayatri, faculty, School of Management, Shastra Deemed University, Tanjore. Okay, so before we go into the concepts, let us try to recall what we were discussing in the last class. So we were dealing with production, the type of cost associated with it, what are the different types of cost, and how do we optimize the production of a particular product or a service. So with this session, we will start with the learning objectives to understand the concept of isocont and isocost. So how is this concept going to help in the production of a particular product or a service? To understand the assumptions and the properties of isocons and isocost, and to understand the equilibrium of a product. So any business has a twin objective. One is to maximize profit and the other one is to minimize cost. So how to achieve these two objectives of a business? This is what we are going to deal with this particular session. So before we go into production function, a firm has a lot of constraints before it, whether it is producing a product or whether it is producing a service. So it has to design and develop various strategies and policies to achieve maximum profits. So how can a firm do this? There is already scarcity of resources, and they also have to take into consideration the cost factor. So the availability of resources, the cost of producing a particular product, and the method of producing a particular product. So which is the best method to produce a product? How can I reduce cost? So these are some of the questions which a producer has in mind when he goes on to produce a product. So how do we finalize all this? So we need an input combination and we need an output, so that could give maximum profits. So the best combination is maximum output at a minimum cost. This is the main objective of the firm. So which combination of output can a firm choose in order to maximize profit? So when you talk about production function, so what is a production function? It shows the relationship between factors, let us say land, labor, capital as well as the organization, all these input factors which are required to produce a particular output. Now let us take for example, a farmer uses a lot of inputs, be it in the form of seeds or let us say in the form of fertilizers or let us say in the form of manure. So he uses a lot of inputs to produce a particular output. It can be a crop, it can be a very good harvest for that particular season. So you need a particular input to produce a particular output. So what is production? Production is a creation of output. So you are adding utility and value to a particular product or service. So every time we try to add utility or let us say value to a product or service, we are making it very customer friendly and we are enhancing the product value to a particular customer. So a customer looks in for a lot of benefits from a product or a service. So a production function is a quantified relation which shows the overall output generated at a given level of inputs with a level of technology and manpower available. So let us assume two factors of production, let one be labor and the other one capital. So assuming two factors of production, that is labor and capital, the production function can be formed as Q is the function of labor and capital. So K stands for capital and L stands for labor. So it is a mathematical relationship which shows the relationship between input as well as the output factors. So every factor, for example, has to have a definite set of inputs. So how are we going to source these inputs? How is the best combination that we can get? So all this is in the minds of a manufacturer. He has to make a clear-cut discussion on how he is going to produce all these products at a reasonable cost. So he and his team has to sit and decide how is going to achieve all these things. Okay, moving on with the next slide. So we'll go into the concept of isocont. So before we start with what is an isocont, let me explain a few definitions and then we'll go to the concept of isocont. So according to Ferguson, An isocont is a curve showing all possible combination of inputs physically capable of producing a given level of output. In other words, it means that all possible combination of inputs that will give the same level of output. So, a manufacturer or a producer can actually choose which combination would be preferable by him. So, according to Samuelson, iso product curve shows the different input combination that will produce a given level of output. So, here we are talking about a given level of output. So, for this output, what is the desired input combination? So, which combination will actually minimize cost? This is what a producer or a manufacturer will think before starting up a production unit or before producing a particular product. So, at what cost he can produce a particular commodity. So, we will move on to the next slide. So, what is an isocont? So, isocont is a combination of two words. Iso means equal and quant means quantity or product, or that is equal to output. So, earlier in the theory of consumer behavior, we would have studied about consumer indifference curve. So, the different combination of input that gives a consumer the maximum satisfaction. So, the same concept is isocont, the different combination of inputs that minimizes the cost or that has the same quantity that a producer can choose here. So, an isocont shows all the input points required to produce the same level of output. So, here it shows the different combination of inputs that are required to produce the same level of output. Since we have already studied this in the form of an indifference curve, and this concept also is very similar to the indifference curve in the theory of consumer behavior, this is also known as production indifference curve. So, in production we call it as the production indifference curve. Okay, so let us see what are the assumptions, because every theory that we look into it has definitely a certain set of assumptions. So, the law operates good only under certain assumptions, that is only two factor of inputs of production are being taken into consideration. So, we are taking only two factors into consideration, that is labor as well as capital. So, factors of production are divisible into small units and can be used in various combinations. So, you can actually divide the factors and you can use it in any type of combination that is required by a manufacturer or a producer. So, the technology remains the same. So, why do we assume that the technology remains the same? It is only because with more technical advancement or with more technological progress, the cost of production may actually become lesser. So, here when we are taking this particular concept into consideration, we assume that the technology remains the same. So, given with the same level of technology, what is the output that we are going to produce at that particular point of time? So, let us go with a schedule. So, when you have the various combinations of labor and capital put into a form of a table, it is called as a schedule. So, let us look into the factor combination to produce a given level of output. So, here there is a factor combination A in which I am taking 1 of labor and 12 of capital. So, if you can look, the first point is being plotted here, 1 of labor and 12 of capital. The second combination, I am just increasing my labor to 2 and the capital I am reducing it to 8. So, the next point is being plotted on the graph. The third point, it is 3 on labor and 5 on capital. So, 3 on labor and 5 on capital. The fourth combination, it is 4 on labor and 3 on capital. So, 4 on labor and 3 on capital, and the last combination is 5 on labor and 2 on capital. So, when I join all these dots, I get a curve, and this curve is called as the isocont. So, isocont shows me the different combinations that can give a producer the same level of output. Okay, let us look into the properties of isocont. So, as we have seen in the earlier diagram, the isocont is sloping to the right. So, this isocont line is a downward sloping. Why it is downward sloping is, it is because we are substituting one factor for another. So, as a combination of one factor increases, the proportion of the other factor decreases. So, because of this, we have the isocont curve which is downward sloping to the right. and a higher isocount represents a higher output. So let's say with the first isocount you are producing a fixed quantity, or let's say 100 units. So when the isocount shifts up further, it means that as you want more and more quantities to be produced, the isocount automatically shifts upwards. So you will have an isocount which will be moving upwards and which would be also quite parallel to each other. So the third property is no isocounts intersect or touch each other. Actually, like let's say with a higher output, you actually move on to an higher isocount, and there can never be such an consideration or a diagram wherein two isocounts intersect or touch each other. So this is not feasible here. And isocounts are convex to the origin. So when you say they are convex, it is like this particular shape wherein they are convex to the origin because of the factors are being substituted one for the other. And there is one more property of isocounts, they will never touch either of the axes, because we do not produce with only one particular input. So it cannot touch either of these axes. So with this properties of isocounts, let's move on to the next slide. So when I have a different isocounts, okay, when I have a curve like this, when I put all these curves together, I get an isocount map. So an isocount map is a collection of all different types of isocounts, or the different quantities of isocounts that can be produced at different levels of output. So when I have a quantity which I have to produce at 100, I have the first isocount, so I can call this as Q1. The second, when I have more quantity to produce, I call it as Q2, and with each and every isocount I move on, I increase the number of quantity that has to be produced. So the only thing which we are considering here is what is the input combination that is required to produce a specific output. So with this, we will move on to the next slide. Okay. So marginal rate of technical substitution, you can also call this as MRTS. So what are we substituting? So we are substituting one factor for another. So for example, let us take what is MRTS of labor for capital, then it is defined as the number of units of capital that can be replaced by 1 unit of labor while the output remains unchanged. So I am substituting, I am taking two factors, one is labor and capital. So if I have to increase labor, so how much is the capital I am substituting, or if I am substituting capital for labor, how much I am substituting one factor for another. So let me demonstrate it with an example here. So I have a schedule and I have different combinations here. So let us say that unit 1 of capital, that is I am using. So if I ask, if I tell you like what is MRTS, that is the changes in capital divided by changes in labor. So that gives me MRTS, this particular concept here. So let us say with the combination A, I have 1 unit of capital, and when I take units of labor, I have 12 units of labor. So for the first one, I do not get anything, but with the second one, let us say when I go with units of capital 2, I am reducing my units of labor to 8. So I am actually substituting here, or I am let us say for increase in one factor, I am reducing the other factor. So what is the difference between these two is 1, and the difference between these two is 4. So 1:4. So MRTS is 1:4. So I am substituting one factor for another. So let us look at the third combination, 3 units of capital and 5 units of labor. So here the MRTS is 1:3. And for the fourth combination, I have 4 units of capital and 5 units of labor. So I have 1:2, and for the fifth combination E, I have 5 units of capital and 2 units of labor. So the MRTS is 1:1. So here this concept actually helps in understanding whether should I use more of capital intensive technology or labor intensive technology. Let us say at some point of time when we use more of labor, the cost of production actually increases. But when we use more of technology, actually there are a few unemployment problems that can be created because of technological inputs. So I have to balance between the both. I also need technology, I also need labor. So how do I balance this? So that concept gives me MRTS. So which combination would give me a least combination that has the least cost and the maximum profit? Okay, so now I have understood, or let us say that we have try to find out what is the required output that can be produced, or what is the combination of output that can be produced. So, we will move on with another concept called as an ISO cost. So, what is an ISO cost? An ISO cost line is defined as the locus of various combination of factors which a firm or an organization can buy at a given level of output. So, in other words, now I already have an isocont, I have already the quantity decided. Now, I have to find out what is the cost per each of these combinations. So, which cost is suitable for me. So, similarly, I go with an ISO cost line, which is actually a downward sloping line. It shows the prices of various combinations, as it is also referred as the price line. So, it tells me, okay, at this particular quantity what is the cost line that I am going to incur. So, I can choose which is the best option available as a producer or for a manufacturer. So, here again we have assumptions. Two factors of productions are variable, we take labor and capital. Prices of other factors of production are constant. So, here we do not keep on considering changes in the other factors of production, but that would disturb the output. So, we keep all these factors as constant. Similarly, technology also remains constant. So, with higher level of technology, the output actually increases. So, for operation of this particular concept, or let us say at that particular period of time, with available technology, what could be produced at that particular point. So, an ISO cost line is again a downward sloping line, and when we have a combination, let us say that collection of ISO cost lines, that is why I have taken labor as well as capital. So, a collection of all these lines will be the ISO cost let us say map, and let us say when the production inputs are changing, that is when the expenditure are changing, and when you want to bring it at a higher quantity, so the ISO cost line shifts parallelly upwards. So, with every let us say cost combination, let us say for 300 you have a particular line, let us say for 400 the ISO cost line shifts parallelly upwards, and let us say when you want the cost combination at 500, the ISO cost line again shifts parallelly upwards. So, we have a collection of isocons and the ISO cost. So, these ISO cost lines are put together, are called as ISO cost map. So, we are being discussing two concepts, one is with a quantity and one is with a price. So, isocont, when you say, it is on the quantity, and when you say ISO cost, it is with the price line. So, what is the available quantity and what is the available price line? So, with this, which combination would be give the producer a better option? So, with this we will move on with the next slide. Okay. So, putting two concepts together, let us say that I want to know what can be the minimal cost in producing a particular product. So, we will move on with a concept called as least cost combination, or you can also call it as producer's equilibrium. So, a producer has to produce an output with the least combination of factors. Only when the cost of producing a particular product is minimum, only then you can reap higher profits, or you can reach to points wherein you can have better profits. Because every time, let us look into some of the companies which are dealing with offshore operations, what they normally do is they outsource different production units, or let us say different parts to be produced in different countries where labor is cheap. So, when your cost of production actually come down, you will have a huge quantity of profits, and that is the reason why certain companies look for places where the raw materials are either cheaper, or labor is cheaper, or technology is much more advanced and are available at a cheaper rate. So, wherever you find things which can bring down your cost of production, producers are in search of such an opportunity. So, here what could be an optimum combination, or what could you call as an producer's equilibrium? So, I have a constraint here, or let us say that we have an option given the choice of resources, the type of manpower, the type of technology, with all constraints, with all scarcity. still the producer has to make a combination which is much more feasible to him with the availability of resources as well as the financial viability of the firm. So based on these two decisions, he has to take a call on what to produce at what quantity to produce. So here I have certain options here. One, maximize production for a given rupee outlay. So here I can maximize production on a given rupee outlay on labor on capital, or minimize the rupee outlay of labor and capital inputs necessary to produce an specified output. So these two are constraints. I have to maximize either with a given rupee, I have to maximize the outlay, or for that outlay I have to maximize the rupee which is given. So these two are constraints here, or produce the output that maximizes profit. So I have to look into a combination which has to give me profit ultimately. So which should I choose of among these three? That is what is the question here. Okay, so we go into the concept called as least cost combination. So here we have the ISO cost line and we also have the ISO cont line. So the least cost combination is a place where the ISO cont curve touches your ISO cost line. So the tangency point or the equilibrium point will give you the least cost combination. So now you can ask me a question, like there are different points like R, S, E and T and J here. So there are different combinations here. So which combination should I choose? So I have, again let me repeat, so I have ISO cost line A and B, ISO cost line C and D, ISO cost line U as well as F, ISO cost line G as well as H. I have 4 ISO cost lines and I have one ISO cont line. So the tangency between the ISO cost line and the ISO cont line, that is the point E, gives me an equilibrium. Now comes the question, why shouldn't I choose R, S, T and J? Okay, so think for a moment. Okay, now I will give you the answer. So these points are on higher ISO cost lines. So this will actually increase the cost of production. So since we are talking about the concept called as least cost combination, point E will give the equilibrium point. So at this particular point, it is better that we use N, that is ON of capital and OM of labor. So a combination, so this particular combination is called as the least cost combination. Other points are on higher ISO cost lines, so that is not feasible. Okay, we will move on to the next concept. What is an expansion path? So when a firm's expenditure increases without an increase in the price level, okay, so there is no increase in the price level when the firm's expenditure increases. So there is a parallel shift of this ISO cost lines, so A and B, and similarly A1, B1, A2, B2. So there are parallel shifts between all these ISO cost lines. So with each and every shift of this ISO cost line, there is a new equilibrium which is being formed with an ISO cont. So you have E1, E2 and E3 new equilibrium points. When we join all these equilibrium points together, we call it as an expansion path, or you call it as OEP. So this is an expansion path for a firm. So at different levels of quantity and price levels, so what is the output which has been produced? So how can a firm be profitable in the long run? So let us summarize this concept. So one thing you need to understand is firms always look into the cheap labor, or let's say to minimize costs, they would find places where raw materials are available at a cheaper cost, or labor is available at a cheaper cost, or assembling it may be much more cheaper at some other place than in the home country. So they look into different ways wherein they can minimize their cost. So firms try to maximize production with the available resources at a particular point of time. The output that can be produced with the given resources is graphically represented by the ISO cont curve. So what level of quantity can be produced with the available resources is already discussed with the ISO cont curve. So the various combination of cost that can be represented in the form of an ISO cost line. So, what is the cost combination, or what is the amount that is required to produce a particular let us say quantity. So, combination of inputs that help a firm to produce maximum output at the minimum cost is called as the least cost combination. So, this is what we have discussed earlier. So, I want a maximum output at the minimum cost, and this particular concept is called as the least cost combination. When I have different combinations of, let us say, the isocost line and the isocont line, and when there is a new equilibrium which is being reached with a shift in, let us say, the output or the cost that has to be produced, then you have different equilibrium points. So, joining all these equilibrium points, I get a curve called as the expansion path. So, with this concept, now how is this that I actually, is this concept really applicable? Yes, this concept is very much applicable. Now, let us say that when firms has to minimize the cost, then they have to look into various options that are available. So, these options will definitely help a manufacturer to decide on how to minimize his cost and what methods of production he can use. Okay, thank you so much. We will meet with the next concept. Thank you.